If you can do that on repeat, you become Rafa.
So true.
There's the secret. How about we go all try it and see what happens? Because you know what? When everyone knows that secret and tries to do it, you realise you can only do it for maybe 5 minutes at a time if you're great. 10 if you're an absolute superstar. But that's what, getting you to 3-all? Let's say in a game of tennis, maybe on a fast surface. But, on clay, maybe half a game. But you get what I'm saying here is that it teaches you these things to let go and then to focus back in and to do it very quickly.
Welcome to another episode of Going Pro with ATA, and I'm very excited for this one. Got a dear friend, someone that we hold close to our heart. You've played a high level of tennis here in the state.
Hold that. Not that high.
I think it's pretty high.
No, thank you.
You have over 25 years of corporate experience. From my observation, you've won Father of the Year 17 years running now.
Straight.
Yeah. You've joined ATA as a director to help Matt, the founder, in 2016, and you provided guidance in all things operation, support and coaching. And I would say you're elite in providing systems and structures in business and athlete programming.
Who's feeding you this stuff? Because
that's just me.
Okay. Nice. Taking it.
Theo Dalkos, welcome today.
Thanks for having me here, Luke. I'm actually super pumped.
Super.
Yeah, on many levels.
Mm-hmm.
One, I get to wear these headphones that,
it's a little bit fancy.
Yeah. I'm loving it.
We have these conversations at coffee, and now we get to have it with the headphones on.
Super.
And it feels just a little bit more legit.
And do us on the... Let's go. Let's have some fun.
So there's so many things I want to talk about. I feel like this is going to bring a lot of value to many different people from a different lens on where the professional journey goes wrong for people. So I want you to paint a picture around what it was like playing tennis in the 80s. You're around some absolute guns. I mean, just to mention one, Lleyton Hewitt. Oof. I mean, he was born and bred here. You were playing around him. He was a little bit younger than you at the time.
Yes.
Yep. And I just want you to paint a picture of what tennis was like in the 80s and what the scene was like at that point.
Wow.
And how you guys trained and what you did for scheduling, programming, I don't know, like fitness. what was it like? What was it like?
How different. Yeah. Wow, what a question. And the 80s/90s. Look, you mentioned Lleyton and what a name to mention, you sort of think, was it a dream? Was it really happening back then? And I'll tell you, I remember just a quick little story is that we used to get sent our tournament schedule and the draw by the post, and you sit there, like a young kid, you're waiting next to, the letterbox, and you're waiting for the mailman to come in, and there's, letter from Tennis SA, and you open it up and there's your draw. And I remember in one occasion, it was a 16s tournament somewhere, and I remember seeing this kid's name, Lleyton Hewitt, and I couldn't pronounce it. It had 2 L's. I'm like, what, who? Who's this? Who spells their name with 2 L's? And anyway, the long story short, I used to sit there and use blue tack and put it right next to my bed, and you'd see the draw and you'd visualise yourself winning the tournament and all these sort of things. It's 16s, right? Full well knowing you're not going to get past the quarterfinals ever because they were just dominated by, the 6 to 8 top-end guys who were, winning nationals and whatnot, who all went pro, by the way, back then. And there's this Lleyton Hewitt kid. I mean, okay, well, I don't know who he is. Make some phone calls, and back then, with the old phones. And lo and behold, it's supposed to be some 12-year-old whiz kid who was, really good and whatnot, but he's 12. So I'm sort of having a bit of a laugh, And then I ended up playing him in the first round, and I was winning, I think, maybe 2-love or something, and then it was 2-1 and change of ends, and he looked up at me and he was like half my size back then, and we were little, and he looked at me and he said, I can't believe I'm losing to someone as shit as you. Square in the eyes. And I looked down at him and I sort of laughed. I thought, I like this kid. And then he ruled out 5 straight games. And he took that first set, and then I was in disbelief. He had this entourage behind him, mum, dad, sisters, grandparents. It was a lot of people behind him. And I was in shock. I was at the other end going, what's just happening now? I'm listening to a 12-year-old. There go my tennis dreams. I'm shattered. And long story short is he bet me like 2-2 or something back then. And that was like, what's just happened?
Yeah.
And then we had to unpack it with all our other 16-year-old mates. Who is this kid? What's going on? Like, how can he be so good? And before you know it, he just bypassed everyone within 2 years. At 15, he ended up playing Adelaide International back then and winning it. And that happened like in 3 years. And it was like, and all of us are still sitting there, we're, 19 years old trying to go pro, training 30 hours a week, getting burnt to a crisp in the sun. And Lleyton already, by the time he was 19, he was number one in the world and, winning majors. So it was a privilege to be around the number one in the world as a junior and seeing him and how they went about their business and how different they were to everyone. And at the time feeling like, you can't be like that. Only they can be that way. They're cut out for it that way, not interested in making friends and hanging around everyone and, doing the stuff that we did. They were there for a sole purpose and they got there so quick and you just never saw them again. So the local scene just came and went for Lleyton. It would have, can't speak on his behalf, of course, but it would have come and gone in 2 years, 3 years. That's it. He's international. He's a superstar. He's one of the, in my opinion, one of the, I suppose, fastest rising prodigies that we've ever seen at the time, because he broke a whole bunch of records for what he was doing for his age. Some of them that still stand. So
yeah,
that was a Lleyton story. Did I digress? I'll talk a lot.
You digress, but that was a fantastic digression. So, there's so many things I want to say to that. It would have been amazing to witness that at the time, but it would have been even better to
greatness. Yeah.
But then like afterwards when it all happened and when it was said and done, to be like, oh my God, like I saw that unfolding live before my eyes.
And we were part of it.
Yeah.
And it was witnessing greatness and it was pretty special. And same thing with Roger, Rashid, I was at Pembroke at the time and not at the school but at the club, and Roger would just come off the pro circuit and play, senior state league these days, what they call state pennant back then, and just roll out and play Saturday afternoon. And we'd warm him up, do that sort of thing. And what a privilege. 2 years later, he's like coaching Lleyton. 5 years later, the number one is in the world and, building an international coaching career, at the highest level. So, again, another privilege in what was going on around us at the time, which seldom happens these days.
What do you think they were doing differently? So you talk about Roger, Rashid, and then you talk about Lleyton. What separated them from the rest as to why they took things further than maybe the group of other people and even players better than you that didn't really go as far?
Yeah, look, to be honest, unless am I qualified to be discussing matters of that level? Probably not. It's just an opinion they'll probably have. But different things, Lleyton, again, Roger was from a different era. Just an all-rounder and an all-round awesome bloke and all that sort of stuff as well. But Lleyton, the difference was they had some type of it has to be a gift. I can't see it being anything else earlier on. Like the perfect storm of having parents that were that focused, a child that didn't break, and just a belief system that till this day you can sort of almost see it in his eyes every time he's coaching Davis Cup or doing all the things he does. He's a winner. He wants to win, and he, from a child had this look in his eye. And even I remember a quick story again, him playing Roger once, and this was Roger Rashid at the time. He was 200 in the world and was traveling the world, and was a huge 6 foot guy with quads, bigger than both of mine put together, and maybe adding yours in there too. And the guy was a beast and a specimen, and Lleyton at the time would have been weighing 60 kilos, maybe less, 15, beating him that afternoon, squaring him in the eyes like he wants to brawl. So you can talk about what differentiated Lleyton is because he was a world-class beast mentally, and obviously physically, the way he ran and everything was, he was the fastest and fittest athlete on the planet at the time. But yeah, mentally, I don't know, you can't really teach that or coach that.
This is just a quick note on our podcast sponsor. This podcast would not be possible without the support from 4RT. They are a creative house that helps businesses with their advertising, marketing, and content needs. If your business has a story to tell, then these guys can really help you with that story. And through ATA, they've helped us massively, and we trust these guys dearly, and we feel like they're the best in the business. So they could add a lot of value to your marketing and advertising needs.
In that time, do you think, I mean, it's a different era, right? I mean, the era you grew up in is different to now.
Vast.
And the environment we are in shapes
Very different.
who we are, right? So was there a bit more of that back in the day in 80s, 90s, where it was a little bit more like rough and tough and you had to be really strong mentally? Was that really something that was more common in that time?
Definitely. I do speak, again, without qualification here, but just from life experience, which in some forms is a qualification, of course, over time. Like an honorary degree, you do something for 30 years, they say, hey, you never got a piece of paper, but, we're saying that,
they should
what
give
you're
out
talking
degrees like that, some sort of life degree.
I think I'd have 15 of them by now. Unfortunately, I've only got one on the wall. But yeah, like going back to your question, in terms of how different it was and what people did back then, it was a very tough world in the 80s and 90s. I mean, it was, for us as kids, we had, looking back, no entertainment. We had, 4 or 5 TV channels. We had, ABC 7, 9 and 10 and, core hours, you're watching news and, you're watching reruns of, Cowboys and all that sort of stuff. And you had a bit of Batman from the 60s playing and it was boring. So what do? You go out and you hit that ball against the wall and that was fun. And you go out and play soccer and then you go out and play cricket. So in the 80s, anyone who was half talented or had a little bit of, hand-eye coordination, I think everyone could bat, everyone could bowl, everyone could play tennis, everyone could kick a soccer ball, everyone could kick a footy. You had to kick a footy in the 80s. Like, it's just the way it was, I think. Or you're a muso or something else. Like, but if you're on the playground, you had to do everything. And what happens now is kids are so stimulated and they're competing for entertainment, but it's all virtual. So in my opinion, because society changed in such a rate the last sort of 10 years, I've seen it with my children in particular, is that we were playing sport for escapism. We were playing sport for this dream that we didn't even know how easy or hard it was because we had no factual information backing any of that. Because I can Google it now and say, what are the odds of me becoming a tennis player? Google, and I'll probably get a stat. In those days, you had zero intel. You just thought if I train hard enough, I'll be like Stefan Edberg, I'll become Pat Cash. No problem. I'll just train 5-6 hours a day and it will happen with zero guidance, really. And, people will tell you in the 80s and 90s, you're getting coached once a week for 30 minutes, sharing a lesson maybe with a mate. I think interest rates back then were, 18% at times. I remember, people just buying their first homes and mortgages and, I'm not sure exactly how, how rich and poor everyone was at the time in Australia, but it felt like in the area that I was growing up, everyone was doing it tough. But then you look back and you think, well, we were in blue chip suburbs and having a pretty decent life. But, we were recycling brown paper bags for lunchtime. So you think about where we were coming from, what we were doing, it was a lot tougher than what it is now. And we needed to play sport to escape. And sometimes we'd play sport for 8, 9, 10 hours a day. Summertime, it's 38 and, there's, you got it, slip, slop, slap. There's no slip, slop, slap. You're out there and if you can hack the sun, you hack it. If you can't, you can't. And in tennis in particular, we were training upwards of 5-6 hours a day. I call it training, but we weren't actually training. The takeaway here is that we were playing. So the takeaway out of all of this is in the 80s and 90s, I believe, all of us kids that were in the tennis circuit, we were playing tennis. We were very hard to beat. We were ugly tennis players.
Yeah.
Like there was a lot of, self-taught tennis in there. But boy, everyone was hard to beat. We learned how to literally, like how they in America talk about playing basketball in the streets. Well, we were learning tennis on, the streets, but we were on nice hard courts and Spencer's in Trinity Gardens and, Kensington. But yeah, we had technical coaching 30 minutes once a week.
Yeah.
What happened to, so now you're getting parents who are getting their kids coached, 5 times a week for an hour and a half every time and, over coaching everything. And we may get into that later, but I hope I answered
your question. You answered heaps of things there. That was really awesome. I mean, so many things are coming to my mind right now. I mean, we've almost gone the other way where there's value in both. And now we just, like you said, we're getting so much over coaching, so many sessions. Everyone is paying for strength and conditioning coach, paying for squad sessions, paying for private lessons. And technically they look great. Like so many players look so good, like $1 million. But I'm just seeing time and time again, like a lot of kids are not growing up with like the mental side, which comes from learning to play the game, like you said.
Correct.
Just from going out there and experiencing, playing a bunch of practice matches, just training with your mates and
100%.
starting to really understand how the game works. So it's like you've gone from one extreme to then the other extreme, and it's like we kind of need to meet in the middle a little bit.
You know who meets in the middle? Everyone you see on the tour. Every top 100 player was that middle. We're so blessed now to have all this information. You talk about kids getting personal trainers and that. What an advantage. Man, imagine we had that advantage back then. You know, all the coaching. Wow, what an advantage again. We're hustling. These people now giving everything on a silver platter. But that disadvantage sometimes is that it all comes too easy and it maybe perhaps gets taken for granted. Again, can't talk for everyone. I'm just telling you what I see. But I know for a fact that it is an advantage to have a personal trainer. To teach you how the body works properly, to not get, I'm sure back then we were getting injured and carrying injuries, just playing with injuries. I'm not going to stop playing, am I? If my elbow's sore, I'm playing through it. Now it's like, no, we'll go to the physio, we'll, you know, give it a week off, or we'll start looking at, you know, treatment strategies, which is great. But at the same time, it does make everyone, if we want to call it a little bit softer,
Yeah. Definitely a little bit softer. I mean, once again, there is a balance to find there. I think the people that can do it better are the ones that can actually find solutions for themselves. Like when you guys are training, doing that like 5-6 hours a day, right?
Yes.
You're finding solutions for yourself based on your ability to play. Like you're not getting a massive amount of coaching. So you're just finding out to see what you actually have and how can I utilize that to my advantage? What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? How can I expose the weakness of someone else?
That's profound.
With my strength. And that's given you great problem solving tools that I just feel like we're not in enough of environments now to actually have the problem solving skills for ourselves. Like you got to find that out for yourself.
Completely agree. And that's why I said it's profound, because there's another takeaway here in that if you look at when we played sport and how we played it, the age demographic now has almost come down 10 years. Because I started playing tennis at 13. So prior to that, I was probably playing since I was 5 against the wall with a racket that had 3 broken strings and a square grip. So effectively, I may have been playing, but the first time I actually went on a court and played properly was like start of year 8, 13. Kids have already burnt out now by 13 because they've been getting coached from 5. So they've had their 7-year journey already. I started mine at 13, so I stopped at 20, 21, you know, went to uni, got whatever bunch of stuff, and then you end up in the workforce. But now you look at these kids you're training. So how are they going to find those solutions that you talk about themselves? How are they going to work it all out themselves when they're only 7, when they're only 8? At that point in time, and speaking from experience now as a parent, kids don't have parents think that their children are, you know, the best version of themselves, and they have to be geniuses, you know, because my child is a genius. He come from me, so, you know. But most of the time they're wrong. Most of the time these 8-year-olds, 9-year-olds, 10-year-olds, they're babies. They just want to play. Let them play. But we're not allowing them to play because we're losing time, and then they can't go pro. And, you know, we'll get to, you know, the name of the podcast, of course, because what does that even mean? Like I've had this convo with people before, like, oh, I want my kid to go pro. I said, cool. Okay, so there's levels. So pro means getting your first ATP point. And we've assisted and helped people get there. So they get that point, but what does it even mean? Do you know what it takes to get that point? You sacrifice your whole life for 10 to 12 years to get that one point, which doesn't secure you, you know, doesn't have financial security behind it. It doesn't have anything else other than an achievement. And you've sacrificed your whole life, probably your schooling and everything, all to get that one point. You've gone pro. No, that's not what I mean. I meant like as in go top 100. So, okay, let's have a different convo then. Mm-hmm. I might get my calculator out now and start giving you some stats. But if that's what you consider going pro, that's a different conversation. Let's bring Roger Rashid in the room and Co and say, hey, guys, tell us about going to top 100. and if they're honest with you, then they'll probably say, hey, the chances are very slim. So let's just think about what we're doing and how are kids going to work out what they want when they're 7, 8, 9, 10. They don't. They just get taken by their parents, which is great, by the way. But then a lot of them, like I said, by the time we started playing tennis, these kids would burn out. And we had an opportunity to discover all those things. At 14, I'm racing from school. Norwood High uniform comes flying off. My tennis gear is on. In a minute, I've got my tennis bag and I'm running to the courts like a man possessed, a kid possessed at the time. My dad hates me playing sport. He's like, what's sport even? Like, what's that? These guys are in the building industry. He's got, a different life. And arguments, crying to go and play. My mum screaming, saying, just let the kid play. And I'm chasing. These are the things that we were doing at 14, 15. But I was 14, 15. You can't do that when you're 8, 9, you see. So I would just race to the courts and then just train until the sun come down. Sometimes it'd be dark and we say, screw it, let's keep going, see if we can see the ball in the dark. I don't see kids doing that now.
No, that's really interesting. So true. Like, if I see that sort of excitement in someone, I want to ignite that fire and really foster that, because that is, I think, rare. But it would have been more common back in the day because, again, like you said,
yeah, it was everyone.
Not so much stimulation, man. Like
No.
you don't have things to do. So it's like, all right, I love this sport. I'm just going to get out there and do it as much as I can. But imagine that with some quality coaching,
Correct.
With knowledge, and that's where we've come now. If we can kind of find that.
And that's why I've said
passion,
that's
energy.
top 100 tennis. These are the people that get there, that had the 80s, 90s, like addiction. Because let's face it, that's what happened to us. Why am I even here today? Why am I even, I think about it, and we talked about it with an old mate of ours the other day. You just love tennis. So let's leave it at that. Like people say, why you're 46 and you're still hanging around the tennis scene doing things and whatever. Okay, well, I'm not playing anymore, but I like to, assist as much as I can. And I'm just addicted to tennis. And so you sort of step away from it a bit. You can't. You're always in there and you can't see someone doing something and not help, I
mean, the common story from a lot of people in your generation is just talk about tennis drawing you back. What is it about the game? What is it about the game that you find is so attractive and appealing for someone like yourself or many people in your generation that seem to be in the game still?
Well, like everything, it's almost like I personally never, I never smoked. I never smoked a cigarette in my life. I never got drunk. I never took drugs. I never did any of those things. So I don't know what it's like to be an addict or be addicted to those type of things. But what you hear is that, don't take your first one. Like don't do that first thing, because the first time you do it, you may get addicted to it. I got addicted to tennis because I was playing, every sport under the sun, and I happened to be really good at it. And I realized that soccer at the time got very physical, and I was a skinny kid, and I was starting to get pushed around, and I was like, whoa, I need to get physically stronger, bigger, more angry, whatever. That wasn't my personality. And tennis was a gentleman's sport. It was clean, it was precise, there were tactics involved, and I hated losing so bad. Like I love winning, but I hated losing more, like a lot more. And so when you play a team sport and you lose because you didn't pass the ball correctly or you did some, idiotic thing that cost us a game, I couldn't sleep at night. Tennis then it was all about me. And it was like I carried that burden, and I fell in love with the sport the first time I played it. And that first match I remember vividly, I played it, and this guy, I wouldn't even remember it, but his name was Sergio Gaoni, and a good friend of ours, Adam Alessandrini, at the time, they were at St. Ignatius, and they were like the best players in the state. I didn't know who these guys were at all. I had to happen to play him in a school sort of tournament, first time I ever played. And I was so obsessed when I was watching him play so well, and I wanted to be like that. I was asking him to coach me while we were playing against each other, because I knew I couldn't get a point off him, and I was rallying, he was just rallying, and I was begging him. I was like, can you just rally with me a bit more? Like, don't like hit a winner past me, just keep going, see how long we can go. I'm actually conversing with him. So it could be 30 all. I'm like, can you just, well, he wasn't 30 all, it would have been like 30 love, but you know what I'm saying? That's how addicted I was. And after that, it was downhill. So you talk about it 30 years later plus, it got you. And the tactics behind it and what's required. And I'll tell you I'll digress for 30 seconds here, but I'll tell you when I watch tennis with my family, because obviously they had to watch it with me and be part of the tennis journey all these years, and we go to the Aussie Open every year and all that stuff, and they love it. But when we watch matches and I say it could be 30-all, and I'm like, oh, super important point now, right now. And then, it could be love 30, or it could be, any of those variations of the scores. And I'm like, this is it, like, biggest point of the match. And they're looking at me going, but you've said that like 7 times already. How can you have 7 times the biggest point of the match? And there's no like logic to it. And I look at it and I'm like, don't you get it? Like, can't you see how important this point is? No, the guy's like, he's 4-love up and it's 30-all. Why is it a big point? But you can't see the momentum changing. You can't see that if, you lose a serve right now, like, it's danger. That people they can't see it. That's what we grew up with, and the nuances of knowing the importance of certain points or those things. Addictive, LS. Addictive.
The highs are extremely high and the lows are very low. I mean, playing an individual sport and having it all on you.
Yeah, lots of crying.
Yeah, I was a little baby, man. I used to cry my eyes out there and I couldn't control it. But I just remember some of the biggest wins.
Still cry with sport, by the way.
Oh, dude, it's emotional. It takes you on a roller coaster. Yeah, I mean, there's something about individual sport and being all for yourself and carrying that load. It's quite special. And then just there's so much depth in tennis. Like you talk about the nuances. There's so much behind the game, and when you're watching, you can unpack it from so many different layers. I mean, like the physical layer of how they're moving and athletically, it's like, wow, these guys are moving unbelievably. And then you've got the mental, emotional side, and you see like how they're maybe not handling the pressure, or one person standing up, and you see like the fire in their eyes, and oh my God, this guy's in the zone. Like, he's looking unstoppable. And you see how long that lasts, and you see then the other person do that, and it's just like, then you get a royal battle. And there's just so much going on. The dynamics behind it all is just epic when you understand and have a feeling of the game. And having that feeling of having an intense match when you're involved is definitely a peak experience that you can have here on this earth.
And it is, and that's why sport is so addictive, because sport evolved from, we're talking about gladiatorial type events, 2,000 years ago, where people had to die to get the entertainment. And we've created sport over time for, viewing pleasure and the enjoyment. And we literally, when you play as a kid, I played to the death. But did I ever die? I probably, I didn't. I'm here. I probably have exaggerated, but I felt like that. But because I knew in a period long before us, people did for that experience, that high. So we get to have that high, but then those lows are really low. But when you can share it with the tennis community or with people who get it, and there's certain levels that everyone operates in, and when you meet people in those levels like we have, and we reside in those levels, it's very special because you can help each other in those levels, and you feel for the other person. We might get to it later, but when I'm helping some of the young pros and that, how can someone explain, like, when someone loses, if you haven't been there yourself and understand the concept, not talking to someone for like an hour, say, after a loss, but just standing or sitting next to them without a word being said, waiting for that, how you feeling moment or whatnot. You're one comment away from, say, losing that person or being able to help them. Because if you just went, hey, so by the way, should we do this? Well, you're done. That person feels like he's lost. I'm talking about grievance loss. That's how bad it is. And I've lost in my life. We've lost people, and I'm talking about proper grievances. And losing in sport, when you really care, that moment is the same. And if it might sound controversial, but anyone who knows sport at the highest level knows it's not. It feels that bad. And so you get it. And so that's why sometimes the wins feel so good too. Anyway, I digressed again.
No.
I'm a pro at doing that.
You're doing a great job with those digressions.
Going pro with digressions.
Oh, man, it is heartbreak out there though, man. Like, dude, it hurts. And you just, I know when I've had loved ones or people close to me after a match and I've just had a shocking loss or a really tight loss, it's just I need my moment. I can't have anyone talk to me. I just need to just sit there and be with that because I'm hurting and I'll be fine. I just need to have my moment with that.
Of course.
But you touched on something that was really important that I want to dive into.
Let's go.
Just around managing players. So you've helped a few players. You worked with a bunch of talented players playing at the highest level in their age group.
Very blessed.
Players working also closely to get ATP points and then getting ATP points. What sort of things do you provide players with when it comes to like mentoring and managing?
Oh, look, it's hard because I reckon that's probably a question that, you'd have to ask them. I think I can tell you what I feel like I give people, but you're only going to get honest answers from, the players themselves. But I've been very blessed, and somehow life has taken me to some really, really privileged places, and I've happened to assist and help some of the most talented 12-year-olds you've ever seen, and up, and some who were there, and I've happened to help and assist at 18 or 19 and 20 years of age after they've had a little bit of the journey. And I think life experience and life advice, who's qualified enough to help young athletes, young tennis players through their, sporting journey? We all go and get our level 1 Tennis Australia, piece of paper that sits on the wall, and go get your business degree or your commerce degree, and that sits up there with it and a whole bunch of other stuff. So that makes us automatically, qualified to say, look, I'm qualified, I'm going to give this person advice. Well, I disagree. And yes, we have those papers, they're important. But then I think, you're taking someone's happiness and someone's life on board, and then it's incumbent on you to give them correct advice as you see it, to be able to help them. And that's where you need life experience. And that's where I believe I've done my best to help everyone through that tennis journey. And I've been lucky enough to have succeeded in a lot of them. But then if you actually break that question down, what is it that you've actually succeeded in? And, did you get to number 1 in the world? No. Did you get to the top 10 in the world with your player? No. In actual fact, did some of your players even quit? Yes. Whole bunch of stuff. So how can you then say what you did was a success? But at the time, with a sane mind, with an ability to say, I'm doing the right thing by this person, you are succeeding because they're happy and they're continuing to play the sport and they're getting great results. And what happens thereafter is a parental issue. And a lot of it the parents have to take ownership. You can't just handball it off to coaches and trainers and mentors and whatnot. But I think what I provide in the main is some formulas that are the most simple formulas on the planet. As we know, the simple things in life are often the best. And the simple formulas of being able to derive good habits over bad habits early just basically point you in the direction of success. And you can debate that. We can debate it with anyone. Because I've had, people that have, in all sports, go and get drunk the night before and then go and played loose and relaxed and won and say, that's the winning formula because I won. Of course it was today. Is it next week? And is it the week after? And let's have a look at that career after 5 years and see how that went when you had a drink every Friday night, got drunk and then played. Did it work? Because at the moment, if you start, I don't know, Dylan might be able to look at some stats, but I don't think that's going to be working over a period of time. In actual fact, I think it's very unhealthy. It's probably destructive. So formulating good habits early and just being a good human being across the board is paramount to success. And that's what I guide and help people with, in addition to, of course, all the tennis knowledge we have and all the tennis acumen and all the connections we have and the people that we can, bring along for the ride. That's all bonus. But none of it's ever going to happen if you're a destructive personality with, traits that are not geared to success.
Yeah. I want to break this down practically. Can you really tell us what are some of these simple structures, systems, formulas that players need to start embedding into their tennis or into their life that are going to help them?
I'll ask you a question, LS, because I know you that well. How well did you sleep last night?
I could have slept better. I had a 6 hour sleep, so it wasn't ideal. I prefer 8.
Done. Full stop. See, this conversation is great, right? We're talking about your sleep and that. Well, sleep. Like, if you're a pro athlete, how good you sleep? Let's look at that. People can say, what's that got to do with me hitting a semi-western forehand? Or what are you talking about? How long did you sleep last night? And then often you'll find people saying, no, I actually don't sleep well at all. And you expect them to perform. Then let's go talk about nutrition. How'd you go yesterday? Like, break down what you ate and what times you ate and how did you feel? And you'll be surprised at how basic we can bring it back to nutrition, hydration, sleeping patterns, simple stuff like that. So I would tell an athlete, sit down, are you serious about being pro? Yeah, I want to go pro. Good, done. Are you willing to start developing some good habits? Are you willing to sacrifice the bad ones? Because I don't see that as a sacrifice. I think, really, having a good night's sleep is a sacrifice? That's a privilege. Learn how to do it. Then think about what you're putting in your mouth. Well, what are you eating? What are you drinking? Half the time players go out there and they're dehydrated. Simple stuff, LS. You know that. And it's those simple things that if you put them all together, give you the base to start getting to a starting line. And we haven't even talked tennis yet. So to be a fully functional top-end athlete, and there are outliers and there's exemptions in there, as we know. There's athletes that are just born with some type of freakish ability to be able to just like jump high and run fast twitch fibers, all this sort of stuff. And, they may not do all this stuff great and they still have an ability to get at the level. But the ones that are like that and do all those other simple things, like I said, the basics there, as you discussed, at the highest level, well, then guess what? You are Alcaraz, right? You are the Rafas of the world, and because that's what they did, because they took it seriously. So I'll try to be a very, energetic and happy-go-lucky type guy, and then a lot of people laugh. They say, I think I'm really happy-go-lucky dude and funny and whatever. And they're like, you're the most intense person we've ever seen. I'm like, what are you talking about? Then I asked my wife the same. I said, am I intense? And she laughs. What do you mean? But that's what happens. When I get passionate about something, you want to go pro, do you? All of a sudden, I lose my sense of humour somehow and I start to fire the hard questions. Yeah. Are you prepared to do X, Y, and Z? And then I get angry because I think you've got all the talent to do it and you just don't want to eat properly and you just don't want to stretch and you just don't want to work hard in the gym and you don't want to run. Well, these are the basics to even just look fit, let alone be an athlete.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the basics come before anything else. If you can start to do this, you're just going to give yourself, I guess, a base to be really consistent in your training and in your performance. And then from there, you can start to maybe think clearly on court and actually make better decisions and then let your tennis shine through naturally because these life things are just happening in the background. And then from there, you're able to perform and deliver when it matters.
Totally. Because, you and I and every other member of the tennis community, especially the fully functioning tennis community, some people that, are really in it, we could talk tactics till tomorrow morning. You want to start talking tactics, you can turn off the mics and let's go to 2 a.m. about what to do in certain points. And we can just unpack it for the next 20 hours. But what's the point in doing all that if all those, like I said, those fundamental basics are not even there? You're just wasting a whole bunch of time.
100%. I mean, you were on the Pro ITF circuit last year for a little part of the Aussie swing. With a couple athletes. You saw a whole bunch of athletes. What did you observe? Like what caught your eye on some of the people doing great things? Yeah. What caught your eye on people maybe doing the things that weren't ideal? Yeah. And what did you observe that separated, I guess, like the best from the rest?
I've got some great and this isn't rehearsed. Let's just get this across. Like I'm hearing this for the first time that you asked me this question. I've got an example of that, and it was a great experience. It was a great experience to see how big of a hustle that circuit is. With all due respect to it all, and they say this themselves as players, and that's almost like a travelling circus. They all know who they are. They all know that they're ranked between, say, I think at the time Lee was probably 250 or 300 in the world, and he's probably one of the top-ranked players, and they're all the way up to the guys that had just got that 1 point, 2,000 in the world, and they're all in there in this mixer, and they play each other, and they know each other, and they share the same, accommodations because they have to. It's very expensive, as we know, tennis. Every now and then, you see people who come from money, and that's okay. They've got their own place, but it's a grind, okay? So when I saw everyone in this mixer, and I'm thinking, we're talking about getting a good night's sleep. We're getting about how well are you eating, how well are you drinking, all those things. And then you see the way that they operate, and you're like, well, they're in the grind. But what they have, all of them, is talent. They've had the journey. And they've got guts, and they can do it. They can, wake up the next morning after having 3 hours sleep and go out and just do it. Now, are they performing at their highest? Of course not. Are they making correct decisions in key moments? No, they're not. But a couple of people caught my eye, and this was before it all happened. And one, of course, Lee too's a friend of ours, and he's a pro, full stop. He goes and takes care of his business. And I'll tell you how that happens. It's because he doesn't spend a whole bunch of time at the venue. He goes to the venue to play, and then he'll, post-stretch and go, or whatever, maybe sometimes not even. And there's a few people that I saw doing that, and it's probably, I'm not going to drop names and that stuff. It's pointless, but I will tell you one name because everyone should know it by now, but it was Kubler at the time. So I got introduced to him. Everyone had left, and I saw this lad fit, nice-looking fella, and he was sitting there just stretching by himself. Not even, AirPods in or anything like that. He was just stretching in the corner, doing all his fundamental stretch really well too. And I was admiring him, and I didn't know who he was actually at the time when I first saw him. I said, I love that lad looks pro, and I hope he does okay. And then I got introduced to him, and then I realized, oh, wow, okay, that's what, it made sense. Do you see that? So what my mind needed and my eyes needed to see was there, and there was that guy who obviously we know what kind of year he had last year, but of course he had been pro before. He knows what it takes. He wasn't there larking around like a lot of them are on their phones, and that they may think, oh, TD, well, you can't say that, but they are. They're sitting there on their phones playing video games with each other, messing about and their stuff, and that's great. And I actually encourage it. I think that's awesome. But don't think you're going to be doing what Kubler's doing or what Lee's currently embarking on. It's too hard because you have to stay disciplined. You've got to have all those professional habits to just get to that starting line like they do. And they haven't secured their retirement yet. Neither lads. They've still got a lot to go before they get to the best they can possibly be. Before we all see a decline in an athlete, you don't know when that pinnacle is. You always look back at it and say, okay, I was my best at 28. I had my highest ranking at, when I was age 30 or whatever. But when you look at that traveling circuit, that ITF circuit, low grade ATP, you actually see how hard it is. And you want to help everyone, and you can't help everyone. You help everyone a little bit because everyone's craving it. But then it's too hard to press repeat on that stuff every day unless you've got the perfect storm of having the right family behind you, the parents and the coaches and the trainers and all that at that level anyway. And of course, there's a financial component to it because people are scared to talk finances. I've been in, finance and corporate my whole life. For me, finances is like talking about the weather. It's easy. It's numbers, and it's not taboo at all. And you need to have finances behind you to be able to travel, because every time you leave home and catch even a train or a bus or a plane somewhere, it costs money. And then if you're not sleeping in your own home, it's costing you more money, and you're spending all this money, and the pressure builds because you may not be getting some results. What happens then? What happens then? You start sharing accommodation, you start doing those things those people do, and you're in the grind.
Yeah.
Whereas other people who've got a different process, perhaps, good luck to them, they can do it better. But I actually admire them all. And that's the takeaway from all of that is that I saw what people do to go pro. I saw what people do just to be part of that circuit. And I actually, personally, I couldn't do it and I wouldn't do it. It's not my type of life. but I admire how addicted they are to the game that we're addicted to and the levels that they take it.
Yeah, I'm hearing you loud and clear, man. 100%. Like I think the same things. Like, could I dedicate myself for that life? I don't think it's my journey, and I realized that pretty early on. That's why I felt like I didn't really go down the path that I did. But what I'm also hearing is this concept is you got to be pro before you become pro.
Totally.
And when you're looking at Lee and when you're looking at Kubler, for example, they are pro before they're actually like acknowledged as being pro from the wider community, right? Mm-hmm. And I think one thing that stands out is people are embarrassed or maybe feel uncomfortable with doing that because it's almost like, who am I? Mm-hmm. Who am I to be this when I'm like just some guy at ITF tour?
Yeah. Peer pressure.
But that's the process you got to be before you become. And then you start to step in, you start to get some confidence and belief, and all of a sudden you're starting to knock on the door and you're getting to those higher levels and you're realizing everyone's doing this.
The fear is that what happens when I don't, then everyone looks at me and they laugh and they say, he's the guy that was stretching and doing all this and he was, you know, always doing the right stuff, and look, and I still chopped you, and they use all these words, and, you know, to me, you know, a lot of those people are going to find life a grind because life will throw you many challenges. Spanners come from everywhere, and that's not the attitude to have. You should be admiring that person, saying, you know what, tip my hat to you.
Yeah.
Good on you. And you know what, I would be a better player if I did that as well. That's the attitude, not the one where, and as you rightly said, who are you to be doing that? You're not even pro. Well, you know what, I'm not even giving myself a chance if I don't do that. So let me just do it.
Yeah, I'd rather give it my all and give it a real crack to see, can I actually do it? But that's the process. And if I fail, I fail. But I'm going to learn some valuable things along the way.
You never live in regret.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you touched on life's challenges.
Yes.
One thing that I've known you as, that you've introduced me, and we've had some amazing discussions around, is Stoicism. The ancient Greek and Roman philosophy from what 300 BC, around around that time.
Let's just go with BC.
Yeah, I'm done. We can get a fact check. We need to get Dylan involved so we can get some live fact checks.
He's on the DJ mixer there.
So, can you actually explain what Stoicism is?
Look, it's not a matter of a definition. To be honest.
What is it to you?
Well, exactly. I mean, let's talk about what it means. I mean, I was blessed enough many years ago to just bump into a friend of yours again. This is how it all relates. And a good friend of yours was sitting there reading a book, and I said, oh, wow, what are you reading? It was like called The Daily Stoic at the time. And I thought, well, that's interesting. What does it do? He goes, you only read a page a day. So, wow, because I'm an avid reader. I love reading autobiographies and all about sport, of course. Anyway, I said, oh, well, can I have a look at it? And I looked at it and I said, I saw who it was from, whatever, bum. And then I went 20 minutes later, went and bought it. And I've read it every day since. That was probably 4 or 5 years ago now. So I'm reading this book on it's called The Daily Stoic. It just gives you almost like a piece of advice every day onto how you think you should tackle life for that day. And to put it in 10 words or less, it provides you with some tools to be able to get yourself out of, the sticky situations you face every day. So knowing, the difference between what you can and can't control. It's a throwaway comment. People say, oh, what's that? Well, look into it and think about all the things that you think you can control. But then if we talk philosophy, you'll realize by the end of it, you control none of it. And the only thing you can control is your reasoned choice. And by that, I mean, you can only control how you react to something.
Yeah.
Because right now, if I grabbed this laptop and just chucked it across the room, can you stop me from doing that right now? So you think you got control because you're in someone else's venue. Oh, I could just lose it and stuff. How you react to that, you can control, but that's it. So we realize there's a whole bunch of things that's out of our sphere of control in life. And you then to dig a little bit deeper and say, okay, well, I'll let go of that, and I'll just control what I know I can. And all of a sudden things become simpler. And that comes from every decision you make, every conversation you have. You find that you catch yourself making the mistake before you make it, perhaps. And so trying to live a stoic life will only be judged at the end of your life, basically, to see, you look back and say, well, did I or didn't I? In the meantime, you try. And every day you get a better chance of being happy if you're more stoic, because that means you just don't crumble under pressure. That means you focus better. It means that you're making correct decisions continually for your happiness. And that, I mean, let's derive what happiness is. I mean, what happiness is to you is very different to me and Dylan and so forth. And all I know is that I've got a whole bunch of things that I enjoy doing that make me happy, and I have to try to preserve those things. And you know that you can't control any of them. So you let go of the control and just focus on the process, and then always focus on how you, that reasoned choice afterwards to say, look, that didn't go my way today. Excellent. It happened for a reason. Play on. Next. What do you mean? You're not going to sit there lamenting over it? No. I pretty much learnt my lesson. I knew exactly what I did right or wrong, and then I'm good again. Let's go. Play on. We always use that concept, like the referee just waves play on, packs away the whistle and just keep playing on, So we could talk about stoicism forever, but, that's a snippet of what it means is to be able to eventually have coping mechanisms and to deal with life as you face it every day.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, what sort of coping mechanisms, or what's changed for you since implementing stoicism? How would you describe you were before?
It's changed my life completely. That's because, I was a very, very driven, I can't make a mistake type person. I was renowned for, we don't make mistakes, don't make mistakes. And then realised that making some mistakes is good, just don't make big ones. Little mistakes actually are really good because you learn from them. You make big mistakes, you can't say it's fun and it's great, because you can end up locked away for 30 years. That was good. I hope you enjoyed the mistake you made. So making small mistakes and learning from them is great. But I think, to sort of wrap it up in a nutshell, you feel like life sometimes is more important. I read a book once saying, you're not that important, and it scares people. Because it's not. It's very important to me right here. Of course, my existence is amazing and you love it and it's all good. But at the same time, 8 billion people on the planet at the moment? What makes my life more important than the other 0.999 billion people on the planet? Because theirs is just as important for them.
Yeah. And
so you recognise those things and you just write, okay, well, I'm just a little piece of that. My life's most important to me, but I'm not going to do bad by people, because that comes back to haunt me. So you do all the good things correctly, and hopefully that puts you in good stead for success.
Yeah, I think this is a really valuable thing to talk about and for people to tap into, because especially for an athlete or a tennis player, you need the tools. And I kind of wish there was almost like a philosophy or like philosophical content taught for athletes or tennis players, so that they can have the tools to handle some of these moments, which I think.
Well, they do.
I think that's what at the elite level.
That does exist, and that's what those people have. That's in their team.
Yeah.
Every successful team on the tour has that.
Yeah, and packaged in many different ways.
Correct.
But how can this actually help tennis players? What are some key things that they could start to embed into their game that's going to help them handle some of the challenges they face on and off the court?
Great question. How fast can you put what just happened to you behind you?
Yeah.
Because I practice these things on purpose. I don't even play anymore. But if I ever go out and play a little bit, I feel my temper come back again. I was like, whoa, I must have been a psycho. Because I feel like you make a mistake, you hit the net, I feel like breaking a racket. I'm not going to snap this bat. That's me as a 46-year-old. That's what. So you got to, how quickly can you just put what happened behind you and focus on what you're doing next? This Stoic philosophy, this type of stuff is about controlling that moment and saying, it happened. You take 5 seconds to process it. You go back to your breathing pattern. You fix your strings, you do your stuff. You focused on what's going to happen right now, not what happened 15, 20, 30 seconds ago. If you can do that on repeat, you become Rafa.
So true.
There's the secret. How about we go all try it and see what happens? Because you know what? When everyone knows that secret and tries to do it, you realize you can only do it for maybe 5 minutes at a time if you're great. 10 if you're an absolute superstar. But that's what, getting you to 3-all? Let's say in a game of tennis, maybe on a fast surface. But, on clay, maybe half a game. But you get what I'm saying here is that it teaches you these things to let go and then to focus back in and to do it very quickly, times of the essence.
Yeah, I mean, touching on Rafa there is a great example. Just having that as a daily practice in itself is going to just catapult you into great things in any sphere.
It's just very hard to do.
It is hard. It's daily practice, and it's not.
Yes.
It's not linear as well.
No.
I mean, there's so many factors that can affect your emotions.
Correct.
And life is always throwing things at us, and it's our ability to respond, like you've been speaking about. And one thing that comes to my mind is Viktor Frankl, survivor from the Holocaust and the Nazi camps, and he wrote a book about man's search for meaning, and his ability that in that circumstance is the most horrific. I mean, you have every reason to be just all over the place and just, in such a dark way, such a dark space. But he talked about the only thing we can do is our attitude to how we respond to any given circumstance.
Well,
that's him.
Correct.
As a Zen master.
Correct.
Being able to handle his attitude and how he responds to the most horrific experience that any human could face. I mean, that's the most extreme example. But if we can just extract that in small ways on the tennis court or in any situation in life, then I feel like we're going to live such a better life. We're going to be able to move past events 100%. Without being a robot and being like, I don't feel emotion. It's just, I feel it. I can then have a mature conversation around it. Maybe sometimes I feel the emotion a little bit longer and then I respond after and I take a pause, and you know how to handle yourself in certain moments. Yeah,
exactly. And we're talking about, again, life or death situations.
Yeah.
Right? But we did discuss earlier how sports people feel like it's life or death. That's what it feels like. That's why grown men who lose a footy game, and it doesn't even have to be a final, sit down and almost start crying over what? If you process it, are you kidding me? You're not Viktor Frankl. Like I said, you're not, you haven't seen, the atrocities he saw. What just happened? You lost the game, but you took it so seriously because it meant so much to you, and that's why the fans love you and it's all good. And so, yes, the coping mechanisms of what you got to do are very much in parallel. And that's why the biggest sporting organisations in the world hire these best practice people in psychology and sports psychology and all that stuff to teach the athletes those things. And Ash Barty had, I believe, I forgot his name.
I think it's Ben Crowe.
Ben Crowe. Wow.
He's amazing.
I've listened to some of his podcasts and, amazing. So everyone wants Ben Crowe because, look, it's not only what he did with Ash Barty, he's done it over and over again with footy, but these are formulas to success. But to actually apply these formulas is like a very complicated mathematical algorithm. Dill's a smart guy. He got maths. He probably went better in year 12 than I did in maths. And, he sees the algorithm and goes, I can apply this. I used to see that algorithm and go, okay, well, damn, it's long. But if I apply it, I know I'm going to get the right answer. And that's how these things are. Like if you can apply them, if you can apply Viktor Frankl's mentality to sport, you will go pro. But
100%.
can you?
Can you is a different story. That's a big one. We spoke about in the intro as you being father of the year, 17 years running.
17 years running.
Yeah.
In actual fact, I'll tell you that next week is our 20th year anniversary of being married to my lovely wife, Amalia. And,
amazing.
And 2 years before that, we knew each other. So 22 years of being together. I think that qualifies me to be able to talk about anything.
Fantastic. That's your life degree, right?
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's the honorary degree, isn't it? Sorry, you were saying.
Yeah, I mean, in tennis, the role of parent is extremely important.
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't parent well and then expect the coaching team just to
No, doesn't work.
just swoop in and take charge and take someone to be pro, it's
Doesn't
just
work.
you're thinking fools. You're thinking fools thinking, yeah, for sure. And it's just so rare. It's so rare to have, I guess, a broken family unit or a family unit where the parent is like disengaged or
Dysfunctional one.
dysfunctional to then feel like you can go towards a successful journey. So I guess what I want to say is, as a competent father, from my observations,
Am I?
I definitely think so.
Yeah,
Are there any things that you really value as important to guide children from an early age, just in general, and how that, I guess, feeds into the tennis journey?
Yeah, look, life is tough in any way, shape or form. And, being a parent is very tough as well. So it's tough enough for people sometimes to be good parents when they themselves don't even have any idea of who they are as individuals. They're struggling with their own, I know parents who are struggling immensely with their own, being and let alone that of others, and then having to make them a pro tennis player or a pro athlete. You're only going to succeed in that regard is if your child is an absolute prodigy. So that's genetic. That's from your genes or maybe your grandfathers and grandmothers, whatever. But unless they're a prodigy just driving themselves and you're sitting there for the ride, I don't know too many like that. And I don't know how many in every sport, how many there are in every era. But if you're waiting for that to happen, just keep your fingers crossed and see what happens. But being a good parent and then having to be in a professional sporting journey with them at an early age, it's very tough work. And I take my hat off to every single tennis parent who's surviving the journey and going through it, because the advice I give people is be a parent and be the best parent you can possibly be. Instill the values that lead to success if you can. Now, this can a lot of people will find it offensive because they'll say, well, who are you to talk about this? And well, I can talk about it because I have been, a parent for a long time now, and I've got a boy and I've got a girl, and I've done my best with my wife to raise the kids in the best possible way. And we know what we can control and we know what we can't. And we'll always say health first before we say anything ever. Because if we're not healthy, we've got nothing. So if you're going to destroy your child's life by putting immense pressure on them from the age of 7 because they want to be a pro, well, you've lost your health component. And that could be mental health generally that goes first. Good on you then. You did your best. But be prepared now for the fallout. So if you have a look at what it takes to become a professional, even in tennis, let's say, first and foremost, don't lose your child over it. Second, be the best parent you can possibly be. Let the people do the job that they do. So if you're a parent and you're sort of, I don't like the grip that my kid's using or whatever, maybe have some faith in the coach. But if the coaches are numbnuts and they're no good, well, yeah, then maybe you have to start taking charge and looking at doing something else, because not every single coach is going to be a jet. Not every single personal trainer that goes and gets their, qualification from, some online portal is not the same guy as what, say, Roger Rashid was back in the day. Yeah? So who are you trusting? As a parent, make the correct decisions. Those are the decisions you've got to be making, not, sometimes getting into the nitty-gritty and then or taking over the whole thing, freaking out every time your kid loses. Because at the end of the day, if your child's not addicted to the game, they're not going to be a professional.
Yeah. What are some of these things that you, excuse me, what are some of these things you're talking about in terms of correct decision-making? So
aligning yourself with successful people.
There's one. When to discipline.
100%.
How to discipline.
Correct.
Do you take their devices away? When to take it off? When to reward them?
Well, is that correct though? You take a device away, maybe your kid short circuits and there you go, it's all done. Or is it?
Depending, it's all context dependent, right?
Correct.
I guess in these key moments, trying to find the right action that's going to work for your child based on their needs.
Yeah. Love prevails. Love prevails. And if you love your children enough and you give them the correct advice, I believe anyway, I don't need to take my child's advice away. My child should feel bad enough that they've let themselves down, not me.
Yeah, yeah.
At that point, I'm talking, sorry, I should rephrase. I'm talking teenagers now. I'm talking about, 7, 8, 9-year-olds maybe. At that point, let's have a conversation about, are you allowed to pull your child's ear? Are you allowed to yell at your kid? No, you're not. You're not allowed to touch him. It's illegal. Fine. That's okay. That's good for you. But I'm pretty sure that different, cultures and different, families have different rules. And at the end of the day, I was, in our little, sort of patch of land we live in, we make our own rules within societies. And so what's right for me may not be right for the other person. But if you don't own it and you don't know who you are, well, don't go pulling your kid's ear if you don't feel uncomfortable doing it. Don't yell at your child if you feel uncomfortable doing it. That's fine. But if you want to discipline your child, that's bring Dr. Phil on and say, what's the right way to do it? There is no right way. You just got to work that out as a good parent and then let others later in life work out whether or not it was a satisfactory job. And at the end of the day, that's even contentious.
For sure.
Love and happiness, LS.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely going to come from a place of love. And that's always got to be the intention. Speaking as a 28-year-old guy that has no children.
Right.
But I can imagine anyway.
Yeah.
What looks like successful parenting for you in a tennis sphere and unsuccessful? Like how can we break that down? Let's say
go to
parents.
Tennis,
let's go to tennis. Parents, if you want kids to be aspiring tennis players and go and become professional, what does the parent's role include in a tennis context? What's really important and what is not helpful?
Yeah, look, great question. Again, it's a life one. Be a great parent first and foremost. You're going to have to take your child places. You're going to have to, in any way, I think this, you take this either way, but don't get involved with the other parents in all the minutiae, the game scoring, the who won what and then when and all that sort of stuff, and then talking about the other person's kids and then the other person's kids and this and that, and then getting to those cliques and those groups, and all those things just don't work. They don't have longevity. They wear you out. And I speak to parents about this all the time, and I give parents of my own vintage, some of them, most probably a bit younger these days because we got married pretty sort of early and had kids early, and I'm giving people advice on like, well, why am I giving you this advice? You should know this. But a lot of people don't. And it's the fact that it wears them down. And tennis wears you down. And all that competitive, every school holidays, the 3-4 tournaments, the every training that they go to every single thing. And it's hard for me to give advice sometimes because if the kid's old enough and they don't need you there, that's okay. They're in safe hands. You can even stay in the car, watch from afar, and make sure that, I'm a very protective parent. And I'm like a Hawkeye, but I don't get in it. I just watch my child from far away to make sure they're safe, make sure that no one does anything untoward to my child. That's the role of a good father, I believe. And I protect my little girl. Say she's a little girl, she's 15, right? But I still protect her from afar because I'm a good dad. I'm not going to allow her at 12 years old, I'm just going to leave her there and I'm going to go come back 3 hours later. But at the same time, I'm not going to step on court. That's silly. You see parents get involved. They step on court and they get all hyped up on things and they get involved. So I'll tell people, don't get involved. Let the kids play. Going back to what I said, are they playing? They don't look like they're playing. I see a whole bunch of anxiety. I got back into tennis and we'll finish up shortly. I got back into tennis probably 7 years ago after having a bit of a layover just because of life and marriage and a whole bunch of stuff, my career. And I never was out of it as a, tennis, enthusiast. But then I got back into it, and one of the parents I was helping, I went and saw their child play the first tournament. It happened to be their child was the first seed and they're great. So it's always good, isn't it? Because you're with a winner and winning's fantastic. So you walk in, you're always winning. So I walk in with them and I look at this tournament. I looked up and I said, and I used this word. I said, we're at a funeral because I don't understand what's going on. And people looked around me. I said, why is everyone so glum? Under 12s. And it was I won't mention the venue because it's not the venue's fault, but what's going on? And I looked around and I was just so disappointed. I said, I don't want any part of this. This is ridiculous. Like, why is everyone so depressed? You're out under 12. You should be rejoicing you got healthy kids. Other children got kids with like a whole bunch of, people got kids with disabilities and stuff and they deal with a whole bunch of stuff. And you got these multi-talented kids that are beautiful and great and all is good. And you're out here looking like you want it all to end. Like, seriously, put a smile on your face, enjoy, let the kids play. Like I said, watch from afar if you have to for security purposes and that, but enjoy them.
Yeah.
Enjoy watching your child play on the playground. It just happens to be a tennis court. I do that now. I watch my daughter play soccer. I'll never talk how many goals she scores and how great she is and she's going to be the next. I don't care. I tell my mates, I said, where were you today? I said, I was just watching my little girl play. Play what? I said, I should play soccer. And you say it in a different way. I said, yeah, because it's like I used to watch it on the playground, on the swings, and just feel so blessed that I've got a healthy child doing that. She's going down the slippery dip, laughing and playing. And then I used to watch her do her gymnastics, do the same thing and go to swimming and that stuff. And now she's playing soccer. She's a 15-year-old, now she's becoming a woman, but I still watch her play and I love it and I don't get involved. Yeah. I don't care. I stay back. I just want her to be happy and let her play. Is she going to become a professional? Is she going to make, $50 million from soccer? Crickets, right? Let's all be honest here. But that's not the point. And I'm sorry to break the news to most people, that's the point in their life too.
Yeah.
Because they're the odds. So just enjoy it.
Yeah.
Just enjoy them playing rather than going in there saying, we are making a pro. We are, going to just grow this professional player. That's the advice. If you ask me that question again, that's what I'll say. Just enjoy your kids' play.
100%, man. Like it's really beautiful to hear you speak about your daughter in that context and how it lights you up, man. As a father who loves his daughter dearly, man, it's really beautiful. And I feel like we lose track of that love a little bit because we, like you said, you get so stuck in it and you're not able to detach yourself and look from the outside in.
We've seen the relationships lost. Everyone has. Anyone listening to this has seen it with tennis in particular.
I want to have a beautiful relationship with my family that's not centered around all of that. And I think it speaks to the idea of you want to be in this world but not of this world. You don't want to be in this world, but you want to be of this world. So you don't want to get stuck in it. You don't want to get stuck in that whole sphere. Like you need to be able to, like you said, get out of it. And I like the idea of just kind of watching from afar, just to kind of see if she's okay. Maybe talk to her a little bit about it, 100%. As long as she's enjoying it.
Yeah. Offer advice if you can, if you know the sport, of course. Of course.
But yeah, I feel like that's probably one of the big things that tennis, or just parents in tennis, just struggle with, man. Just really getting way too involved with just all the just
because it sucks you back in.
BS.
Like everything in life, it sucks you back in. So you get inspired. You hear someone, say they read a book or they listen to a podcast, with someone that they really admire. They get inspired, and these parents go the next day and employ that tactic. But like we said earlier about what Lee and Kubler were doing, those pro habits as a parent. Are you doing it the next day though? Or do you just get inspired for a week?
Yeah, it's so true, man.
And then you're back to yelling and screaming as soon as they get in the car and you're losing your mind and, talk to your kid for 3 days because they lost against someone they should have bet because they're a part-timer and that kid still does gymnastics and you're a full-time tennis player and you lost, so I'm not talking to you for 3 days. How does that help you?
Not helpful at all. No. Not helpful at all. To really, I guess, close this conversation, which I've absolutely loved. I'm hearing your absolute passion. I'm loving...
Wrap it in a red bow.
Yeah, I love wrapping it in a nice little tidy bow. That's what we do best. Your passion to really bring things back to the basics, your ability to handle the tough situations that life gives you with simplicity so that you can let go and move forward and not get stuck in it.
Wow.
There's so many gems to extract from this conversation, and I can see your evolution through it all, from who you were as a young aspiring tennis player through your corporate career, and then introduction to philosophy and how stoicism's helped changed your life, and now you're going in a different direction, embarking on tennis. What What does the next 10 years look like for you as you maybe wrap up your corporate career? Where do you see life heading?
You wrapped that up so well. You have a talent.
I gave it a crack.
Yeah, you did well. much better than me, that's for sure. Look, let's face it. Health above everything. I just want to be healthy, and at my age now, of course, I look, from a strategic point of view, I look to wrap up my, I suppose, executive corporate type life, whatever that finishes up shortly, and then I can actually look forward to embarking on, I wouldn't say retirement. One will never retire, won't retire, that's for sure. But it'll be more tennis based and doing the things that I love every day, rather than having a component of it that is, still tying up a legacy of a 25-year career, because you can't just drop things. You've got to sort of have a exit strategy, and once the exit strategy comes to an end, and then I'm just hoping to help as many people as I can in the tennis space, and then just by that time, again, if I'm healthy, first and foremost, have great friendships with you boys, and just keep doing what I'm doing now, with lots of love, and that's it basically.
Yeah, I mean, from this conversation, some of the key themes that we haven't even spoken about, but I can feel just coming through the conversation, is just love, and you said blessed many times, and also just the underlying gratitude. Yeah, I mean, it shows that you have a reverence for life. You're definitely someone that's very grateful, and I think that is a key component to being happy, is being grateful for many of the little things, and just some of the absolute basics that we take for granted all the time.
Look at what we just did today. I mean, if this isn't, spending an hour or so with great mates doing what we did today, if this isn't the pinnacle of someone's day, like what is? Can't get better than this. And if people think that that's weird, that's good for them.
Yeah.
I'm sure they live in a much, much more exciting life than me, that's for sure.
Lots of love and gratitude for you, my man.
Yes,
I've absolutely loved today,
Yes.
and thank you for sharing this moment with me.
The pleasure was all mine, LS. All love.
All love, brother.